Can we just tap out on 2020? Like, can we just go ahead and do that? This is enough. We say uncle. We've been saying uncle. And apparently this year isn't done with us and will make us continue to have to say uncle. For so many people this year has sucked, and I think in general just hasn't been a whole lot of good this year. Certainly not. And of course, the news we got the other night was just icing on the shit Sunday that has been 2020. Chadwick Boseman, most known for his role of playing T'Challa in Black Panther, along with starring in other biopic pictures such as Get On Up and 42, playing Jackie Robinson, passed away after apparently a long battle with colon cancer at the age of, 43? 43. That's just insane. It's tragic and it's sad. You could see the outpouring of love and support for the man, his work, who he was, what he represented, and not necessarily that it's something that restores faith or humanity or anything like that. It's just gives you a little bit of a reminder of just how important and culturally significant that man is, was, and will continue to be in the future. And just like with so many other people, like you compare it to Kobe Bryant, when he died along with his daughter and 7 others in the helicopter crash at the beginning of the year. Like you felt like this is somebody that, on the one hand, while they achieved some peak success in their life, certainly, that there was still a lot more to go and there was a lot more they could have done and a lot more positive impact and change that they could have brought to the world. And unfortunately, we won't get that. And this sucks. Like, it absolutely sucks. And, when we think about, like, what are you supposed to learn from this? What are you supposed to take away from this? What benefit are you supposed to get from this? Like, maybe the benefit is more awareness on the silent killer that is colon cancer. I call it a silent killer, even though I believe it is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States. It does not get nearly the amount of attention, nearly the amount of focus as things such as breast cancer and prostate cancer and etc. It just doesn't. But it ravages people. It, like many other conditions, disproportionately ravages the black community. But kills plenty of white folks too. And you see more folks are becoming afflicted with colon cancer at earlier ages. Like, if this leads to other lives being saved because of the awareness that comes out of it, like, that's cool. And that's a nice spin to put on what feels like to me a totally unnecessary death and unnecessary and unneeded loss. Like, you'll have to forgive me here, but I feel like the world has been robbed of a great talent that was just really starting to reach the true peak of his power, the true peak of his impact. Here's a young man, and I say that having been a few years younger than him, mind you, but still, like 43 is still, for all intents and purposes, a young man. Like, you're just in midlife. And instead, this dude was at the end of life. And you think about all that he had done, and, while he will always be most certainly remembered for his role in Black Panther and, the emotional connection that so many millions of people around the world and in this country especially felt. Like, it was an empowering moment. It was a significant moment. He represented something to so many folks. He gave them legitimately a superhero that they could say, that's one of us. He gave millions of folks reason to hope and believe that things could actually be better in a wide face of evidence that suggests, unfortunately, it's not going to anytime soon. Here was a guy that you felt like had so much more talent to show and so much more to bring to the world. And it's taken away for what? I hate when people talk about plan or higher purpose. Like, I just think that stuff's ridiculous. I hate when people talk about thoughts and prayers. Like, what good are they doing for anybody? Really? They might con you into feeling that it's better. But wake up, folks. There's just no point to this. You cannot tell me the world is better off because Chadwick Boseman is dead at 43, as opposed to if he was alive. Like, if that's the master plan, then the master plan sucks. It just sucks because life sucks, and that's the reality. And you look at this, and you look at him, and there's so many things you could glean from the Chadwick Boseman story. Here was a man, just a regular high school kid, playing basketball on the high school basketball team, but at the same point in time was trying to really pursue his passion for theater and really pursue his passion for acting and producing plays. I think when he was in high school, he wrote and produced his first play. Then he goes to, I think it was Howard, and one of his teachers was Felicia Rashad, if I'm not mistaken. And when he had the opportunity to go to Oxford for a summer course or a summer program, the person that ended up, he found out years later, helping to fund to make that happen was Denzel Washington. It's fantastic how somebody successful investing in somebody else's future helps make somebody else successful, which can create all of this widespread positive impact that we see. And this was a guy that paid his dues. He was doing theater, he was doing spots on TV shows, but certainly didn't reach real notoriety until his mid-30s. And then when you get to the Jackie Robinson movie, that's when people really, really, truly started to take notice of this young Chadwick Boseman, who already by that point in time was in his mid-30s. And if anything you take away a little bit from that is, and what you learn from him in his life is have a dream. Cling to that dream. Because you have very few things in this world. Don't let anybody or anything ever take your dreams away from you. If you want it bad enough and you dream hard enough, you can indeed make it happen. And sure, it might not happen for every single person, but there is a chance. And Chadwick Boseman is a perfect example and an embodiment to me of the American dream and what that's supposed to be actually being a reality and coming to life. He didn't give up on his dream. He worked his ass off. He worked his tail off. He put in his time. He paid his dues. He dealt with failure. He dealt with rejection. He did all of that to where he would end up becoming one of the most recognizable movie stars in the entire world. And that is a fact. That's phenomenal. That's an encouraging life story for anyone. Yeah, it wasn't always easy for him, but he stuck with it. He didn't give up. He worked hard. He fought. He kept his eye on the prize. And of course, because it's life, just as he had finally started to realize the fruits of his labor, he was snatched far, far too soon. You also look at, apparently, he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer back in 2016. So when you think about the Black Panther movie, Avengers movies, all these other movies that he was doing this all in the throes of first stage 3 and then stage 4 colon cancer. So the man was literally dying while still going out there, putting on a great public face, still going out there and doing some of the best work of his life. I know you're going to have some of those insensitive jerks that are going to sit there and say, well, what's your excuse? He had this and he had this. And granted, everybody's situation is different. But one thing you can look to, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is that Chadwick Boseman looked at his situation, and what I really appreciate and will always respect about him, and my respect obviously finding out about it just grew even more and more and more. What you find out is that you really appreciate and respect the fact that he wasn't going to let cancer dictate his life. He was going to dictate his life in spite of cancer. Reminds me a lot of Stuart Scott. Reminds me of Steve Jobs. Reminds me of others. They didn't let cancer define them. They didn't let cancer defeat them. Even though you can argue that cancer won at the end of the day, did it really win? Maybe yes, maybe no. And it's not to sit there and say, well, he did it and he was just, like I said, everybody's impacts are different, everybody's situations are different. But I think one thing that we can all take away from this is that if you are dealing with something like that, is make the most out of every moment that you have, because life is so precious. The most valuable commodity we have is time. It is a finite amount, and we never truly know from one day to the next just how much of it we have left. And for those that are healthy, that don't have those types of issues, don't have those types of concerns, you can still take what you've learned from Chadwick Boseman about the importance and value of treasuring and cherishing it, really squeezing the juice, the seed out of every moment of life that you possibly can. Like, obviously, to me, like, the fact that this dude was battling all of this and did the best work of his life, when you have to imagine at some point in time, the man knew eventually he was going to die. Like, we all know someday we are going to die. It's just an unfortunate reality of life. If anything, though, it should be the greatest motivator of life, is knowing that someday we will die. But when you look at Chadwick, like, he had a sense of mortality coming because he knew it was coming. And yet, he kept going. Like, it almost brings a tear to your eye when you see, like, there was an old Jimmy Fallon sketch where they had people come up and talk to the Black Panther movie poster and talk about what the movie meant to them and what he meant to them, and then he comes out, and it's like, it's so heartbreaking to see, but also so awesome to see, because it really helps you to see just how many millions of people were truly impacted by this man and his career's work. And you have people that are getting crap because they're asking about Black Panther 2 or what happens with Black Panther 2 and this and that. And look, I understand it might not be the best time for that discussion, and certainly isn't. And it's like there are bigger, more important things to deal with. But I also think you can't dismiss the fact of people are worried about Black Panther 2 because Black Panther was such a powerful, moving life experience. Not just a movie experience, but a life experience for so many people. Like, it means that much to them. The Black Panther was not just another Marvel superhero. Like, even when you talk about, Infinity Wars and Endgame, like, one of the biggest reasons I hated Infinity Wars was because they killed Black Panther. Like, even from an old wrestling mindset of knowing I'm getting work and knowing that he's going to come back and knowing he's going to be there at a pivotal moment in Endgame. Like, it didn't matter to me. Like, to me, it pissed me off. Still pisses me off to this day. But you also notice how when it came time for that climactic scene when the portals open, who's the first MFer walking through? That's Black Panther and his crew. Well, they knew. They knew. Just like that, white people screw up the world and black people have to come and save it. Wouldn't be the first time, right, folks? Just saying. But even that, like, you think about that, yeah, you can feel it. It's a powerful moment. Like, this is not a bit player. Like, this is a big freaking deal. Like, this is an entirely different thing. And you just, again, you think about him, and it's why so many people are asking about it. Like, no, the timing's not good, and it's a crappy thing to ask about, but it's understandable. But the biggest thing is, many of those same people are the same ones that were making fun of him when he was posting videos and posting pictures online and talking about him looking like the Crack Panther and all of these other things. Like, how dare us? Like, when did we become such a desensitized society where it's so easy and quick to crack on people for their looks and their appearance? It's a great reminder of, we never know what somebody's going through. We never know their situation, their story. And especially if we don't, in some cases, maybe we should just shut the fuck up. Because imagine how stupid that person's got to feel now that they were talking about him like that, not realizing until now that it was because he was dying from the inside out and stage 4 cancer was finally starting to take its final effects on him and was leading him ultimately to an early, all too early grave. There's so many things you can learn from the life and the career the experience and the death from Chadwick Boseman. And I certainly hope that everybody takes that opportunity to learn and grow and get better. Have a dream and don't ever give up on it, and don't ever let anybody take it away from you. No matter how unrealistic it seems, no matter how crazy it seems, without dreams, we have nothing. Never lose that dream. Never stop working. Never stop fighting. Never stop believing in yourself. Chadwick Boseman never stopped believing, never stopped fighting, never stopped working. And look what came out of it. Just because you haven't enjoyed success early in your life doesn't mean that you still can't enjoy success later on in your life and make the second chapter of your life significantly different than the first chapter of your life. Never underestimate the impact that you can have on the lives of others. Be careful passing judgment on others when you may not know what that person is going through. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's perspective is different. Like, I hope we learn some of those lessons and so many more. And I hope we learn to cherish the great work that Chadwick Boseman did, and the man that he was, and the public figure that he was, and what he represented and who he represented. I hope we can continue to appreciate that, and his legacy only gets greater as the years go by, and memory of his passing goes more and more into the distance. I also hope we learn, most importantly, that time is the most precious commodity that we have on this planet. As human beings, you can lose family members, but then you can add family members. You can get more money, you can get more material things. You can have more sex. The one thing you cannot get more of is time. And please understand again, there is no rhyme or reason or no great purpose here. You can be here one day and gone the next. So ask yourself, if today was my last day on earth, is this something that I would want to be doing? If this was my last day on earth, have I done everything that I truly, truly wanted to do? Could I be happy with this being the last day on earth? And if the answer is no, then reevaluate what you're doing with your life and work to make it better. I hope, just like with so many other things, out of tragedy can come great lessons of life for others. And if we can make any sense out of some senseless death, such as Chadwick Boseman being ripped from his family and his millions of fans at the age of 43, let some of those things be the lessons that we take away from all of this. I know some people are going to certainly say Wakanda forever and R.I.P. King. Again, just a reminder of the impact that Chadwick Boseman had. This sucks. He was taken from us far too soon.